Hello, it's Brian TINYCRYPTOBLOG. So I've been listening to Simon Dixon the last couple of days. One with an interview with Peter McCormack, and the other one with on what Bitcoin did. And I've listened to his reasoning and everything that I've learned. It makes sense what he says. Uh, the whole thing in this video is Bitcoin is the arc, and there's a question of is Bitcoin a state asset? Has it been co-opted? We've got Wall Street money, we've got institutional money, we've got the people that are doing things, the club, to use George Carlin's term. It's a big club and you ain't in it. Members of the club. And a point was brought up today that I want to share. Let's go with it.
Okay. I think it's the most decentralized thing we have, and there are multiple operations to co-opt it. Firstly, I do believe that Bitcoin was created by intelligence.
I could see that.
Yeah. And I think it was open sourced as a breakaway from intelligence.
You think this is like NSA or something like that?
Yes. I think it was created by Len Sassaman, Hal Finney, and I've looked back at those early days and all the people that I knew and all the conversations that I knew. I think it's completely implausible that intelligence don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. And the reason is because it came from the proof of weapons network. And so it was a breakaway open source. Just like, what did the British Empire do?
That is the Western nations.
Created its colony islands, and it created its tax havens, because the rich people want an exit. Okay, so they want everybody to own Bitcoin in custody, but they want to own Bitcoin in self-custody. They want everyone to put their gold in custody, but they want to own the gold custodians so that they control. Okay, so custody becomes the thing. And so I believe that Bitcoin was created as a breakaway from intelligence, and it was open sourced. And the construct of Bitcoin means that you have nodes, miners, and developers, users, other parts of the ecosystem. And I think they created it as this decentralized network. It was a bit of an experiment. And I think we got such a level of hash power, such a level of node adoption, such a level of self-custody, such a level of wallet adoption, that the reason they did it is most people think, why would the NSA create Bitcoin or the CIA create Bitcoin? They normally come up with two theories. Theory one is backdoor. We know that's not true. Anyone that studies the code, there's no backdoor. Like anyone that's been through the block war, you know how hard it is to get consensus on this network. There was every type of, when Barry Silbert tried to take over the network by funding all the companies through VCs and then trying to do SegWit 2x and having secret meetings in Hong Kong that I was at, and funding developers via BitPay and different companies. We've seen it all before.
And this is why it doesn't matter if it came out the NSA.
Because open source code, as long as we maintain the integrity of Bitcoin improvement proposals, GitHub, competing implementations. That's why I think Knots versus Core is important. These different things are important. As long as we maintain countries that hate each other mining, like we used to have a centralization of mining in China problem. We now have a centralization of mining in America problem.
I'm sure there's still mining going on in China.
There is. The data we have is about 21% in China and 40% in America. Now that is across public companies. Public companies are all co-optable into the proof of weapons network. So they launch strategy.
All right. I thought they touched on it at a later point in that conversation. It was touched on in other conversations he's had, that it was that one point about British Isles, the tax havens in the Caribbean, is a place for the wealthy of the club to be able to put their money. They created legal structures for themselves. Now, the nice thing about that is anyone else who has the resources, the assets, they can also take advantage of those things. It's the same thing with corporate structures. LLCs in the United States, the limited liability corporation, where, or for example, setting up a trust and putting your assets in a trust, a retirement account, a business, a mortgage, any other kind of economic assets can be put into a trust. These were tools that were made for the benefit of the club, the wealthy, those people. And it's something that everyday people can use. And the fact that he brings up the point about self-custody and how that's in the same boat. The incentive is, hey, this asset grew. We now have access to it. We can use it. We can control this asset. We can possess this asset. We can make it a part of our own portfolios. The incentive is there to say, well, we don't want to ban self-custody because then we're cutting ourselves out of the game. In that respect, this is, to me, another signal that self-custody, there may be strings attached, it may be modified, I don't know. But self-custody as a general concept, being able to hold your own Bitcoin, being the bearer of this asset, being your own banker in effect. Bitcoin is the ark. It's the ark. And if you don't have a financial ark, throw in some Bitcoin, start stacking it. We're still early in the adoption. Other people have not jumped on board. But I think that this is something that can and probably will grow. And I say that with just as much certainty and uncertainty as someone 5 years ago, 10 years ago, from inception would have said. So do your research. If you don't know about it, learn the basics. Understand what makes Bitcoin valuable, what makes the characteristics valuable. It is the ark. It's the ark. I'm going to leave it there. So this is a quickie. Talk to you later.